holiday sales. This is a big deal for retailers because depending on what part of the retail industry you are, that might be the period where you bring in 40% of your revenue. So for a lot of retailers, it's make or break. And it's also why, going back to defaults, you see retailers who are going to default do that. They declare bankruptcy in January. Right. That's because that's where they've gotten the most money because of the holiday season just passed. Then they have as much money as they can to repay as many creditors as much as they can and pay the lawyers the bankruptcy. So, right. Yeah. So
don't forget the lawyers.
No,
don't ever forget the lawyers.
No,
they'll be there.
That's right. So, the holiday season coming up, it's expected to be a little slower than last year. There are always a number of estimates. One of the ones that people like to watch is the National Retail Federation, and they think this year retail sales are going to grow 4 to 6% over last year. Well, that number last year was 7%, so it's slower than last year. And if it's somewhere between 4 and 6%, and you've got inflation at 3.7%, strip that inflation out, that's pretty lukewarm. That's pretty lukewarm, I would say.
You're going to be carrying out less for the same amount of money from the store, from the retailer. Instead of 2 items, you're going to get 1, and it's going to be on sale, and you're going to hold serve, which is, I think, what we're seeing.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, you're buying fewer sweaters for grandma, but you're paying more for them.
Not to change it up here, but on that same note, I heard that, a lot of retailers will be trying to get rid of inventory they've been sitting on.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's tricky for retailers is this. Holiday ordering is finished by August, if not sooner. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty tricky. You got to get it right. How much inventory are you going to order? And what are you going to order? Are you going to get the right stuff?
Right.
Because you can, if people suddenly want whatever it was a few years ago, Tickle Me Elmo or the Barbie airplane, and you don't have enough, well, you missed on that pretty big. Or, you are stuck with too much inventory. And that was the case in the past year or two. And that's always been the concern for retail. And I suspect, that's not going to go away this year. And I'm not sure it's any better or any worse than it usually is, but that's what makes it so difficult. The retailing industry is really challenging.
Yeah. And I think, what I see, and you can always correct me and tell me if I'm wrong, I think it's going to be early and done from a holiday perspective on the slow years. It's usually early and done. There might be a little spurt at the end if you forgot something or you got to get put in a spot. But I really see it being early and done and not making a big impact across our total market.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. Last year, shoppers were holding on. Were waiting because they knew the longer they waited, all those retailers with all that inventory are going to have to start marking stuff down.
Yep.
And they waited and dragged it out quite a bit. Yes, it could be different this year, but shopping habits, I think, are changing, obviously. And
yep.
I think now I would say holiday season, which used to be starting on Black Friday and going through to Christmas, and now it's all of November and December. And now you can even argue that it goes into January too, because retailers might be giving those discounts, and what do I care that I got a present all the time?
I went to Costco weeks ago, and it's been full of Christmas items.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the 1st October. We haven't even really celebrated, and seen much from a Halloween perspective presents yet. And we're already into Christmas shopping from the retailers.
You're right. I went to Lowe's 2 months ago now in August, and they had Halloween displays. Like 2 months ago, you've got to be kidding me.
They're trying to be first because they know there isn't much there.
That's right. I think the retailers call it something like seasonal creep. That would go to your point that buying is going to get done earlier. So, from seeing Halloween displays 2 months early, And now those Halloween displays, Thanksgiving's almost been passed over. Now we're at Christmas for sure.
Correct.
There is this thing retailers are now calling seasonal creep, which goes to your point that indeed a lot of sales may be done earlier on.
I know that whenever, I think we've had years where, people were the economy was good. People were able to, to do more. And I think if you look at the good in everyone, right, and you see the good, they do more when they can do more historically. And when they can't, they don't. So to your point, if you're going to pay 20 to 30% in credit card debt, right?
Yeah.
Who's signing up for that? That's going to hurt the options, and that's going to make the recovery much longer. And you're going to pay 20 to 30% more for every item you buy when you're struggling and with all the uncertainty and the economy is struggling like it is. And we know that it's probably not going to change in the next couple of quarters. You're saying 3 to 4 is what you see in the next year?
Yeah. 3/4 of flat growth. So a significant slowdown, skating around the edge of recession, but you see it in lots of signs around. Politicians will say, "Look at this GDP report this morning," and look at the labor reports. Well, the labor report is pretty interesting because
yeah, I'm not buying
it. What's that?
I'm not buying it.
Yeah. What happens is that if you go back and look at previous recessions, the economy continues to grow jobs at a significant pace right up to the month of when the recession starts, because nobody wants to lay anybody off until they really have to. So this is the historical record. In most of the recent recessions, the economy's growing jobs at a decent pace, and then it drops off and goes negative just in the passage of 1 month. The labor market is the last thing to fall. It's the last pillar of the economy, again, because people don't want to lay anybody off unless they really have to. So the fact, we're going to get the next labor report on the first Friday of the month, and it's probably going to show a decent number of jobs gained, but tells you nothing about what's going to happen the following month, because again, labor collapses like that.
So when you see the media making a big deal of that, that's looking for something to hang on to, right?
Sure.
Dan, as always, we appreciate you
very
much.
I'm glad. I'm honored that you would continue having me back, and I hope it's useful to you and all of your listeners.
Well, I think like I said, you're a genuine delivery. You're relatable for everyone. You speak to the points. The knowledge and the experience you have is unmatched. I can say, I'm going to speak for a lot of people that share with me. They love it when you're on. So when we get to have you. So thank you from all of us at Triple T to you and everyone that you work with and your family. We wish you, a prosperous holiday season. And I would say we won't probably touch base again until probably around the first of the year. I hope everything goes well. Stay warm and know how much you mean to us.
Well, John, thank you very much. And you stay warm too, and all your listeners. We certainly, again, appreciate it.